Hey guys, well today's September 23rd, and yesterday and the day before combined we had about 2 inches of rain come through, so we're kind of sitting and spinning now. It's going to be a while. Today's a Thursday, so it'll be probably Monday before we get back in the field, I would say. It's just too early to start rutting things up, you know. Luckily we've got good sun and good wind, so that'll help, but I'm thinking we're probably going to go to cutting beans now once we get fired back up. Once again, still a little too early to tell, but come Monday we'll know a lot more, but I'm pretty confident that's going to be the plan. Today we're going to start out, we're just going to go through and service everything. We're going to service the combine, the tractor and auger, the grain trucks, grain cart, everything. And when I say service, I'm not talking changing oil. I'm just talking get everything good and greased up, get the windows washed, just get everything done, so that way come first of the week or whenever we get back in the field, we can hit the ground running and be ready to roll. The only problem we've had on this combine so far this season was the first day out the gate. We were down picking corn there, and I think we'd shucked maybe 10, 12 acres, and our unloading auger chain broke. And we got to doing some investigating, and this pulley up here, and then the next one behind it here, they've got set screws on them. It's a keyed shaft, and there's a set screw that holds the key in, then a set screw that holds the sprocket to the shaft there. And about all we can figure is they didn't get them good and tight from the factory. They had a lot of slop in them, side to side wiggle. And I think eventually is what happened is that front sprocket got out of alignment just enough that when I kicked it on, it busted the chain. So they covered it on warranty. Luckily it was no big deal. They had a chain in stock that day. And then we changed the 2 keys on the shafts and then put a new chain on it. And thus far everything's run fine. So I do got to go back and readjust this chain because it was a brand new chain, and you know how it is, because that day when we put the chain on, you know, it was under load. I had about a half a hopper on when it broke, and so you know how it is when you're trying to get a chain over a sprocket that's got pressure on it, you know, you're half a link off or whatever, but that's just the way it has to go because you can't stretch or move nothing to get it to where it needs to be. So get this all taken care of, and that should be the only major adjustment we've got. Seems to be all the other belts and pulleys and everything are pretty well in adjustment. You know, luckily we got these gauges here, so you just got to walk by and make sure that this washer here is right down here at the bottom of the slot, and that tells you if you're in or out of adjustment. So yeah, just a few piddly things. Need to wash the windows, they're filthy, but give everything a shot of grease. Most of the grease zerks on this combine are 50-hour zerks. There's a few that are daily up toward the front there on the shivs for your head and whatnot, but most of it is 50-hour zerks, so you know, every 3 or 4 days for us. We definitely look everything over every day, but some of that, you know, you don't have to get carried away on. It's a 50-hour zerk for a reason. So, and we've always done it that way and got along good. So let's get started here and see where we end up. I generally start right here at the feeder house and just go all the way around the combine is how I do my greasing. That way you're not bouncing around and forgetting what you've got and what you haven't. So the first thing you're going to do here on these shivs, this is for your variable speed for your feeder house and your corn head speed, basically. That's telling you how fast your feeder house chain and your gathering chains and all that is. And I'm putting all this in layman's terms here. But there's 2 grease zerks on this. There's one down here and then one right here. And you always want to roll that so these are up in the 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock position. That way the grease will run down into where it needs to be. You do it down here and it just kind of, I'm not going to say it pools in there, but it's just better to roll that to the 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock position and then give it a few shots of grease. These here, you can do as much damage by over-greasing them as you can under-greasing them, and you'll get a few varying opinions on this. Some guys say give it 2 or 3 shots every morning. Some guys will say give it 5 or 6 shots every other day, you know, but it's one of them deals you definitely don't want to put the grease gun on it and just start giving it, you know, 25 pumps or whatever. You can screw some things up. And there'll be another one up in here. I probably won't take the camera in there because I got to crawl underneath and get them from the bottom side, and they're the same way. You'll really screw them up if you over grease them. So as long as you're giving them, you know, 2-3 pumps every day or every other day, you're going to be fine. You're not going to cause any issues, but don't go cramming them full whatever you do. These can be a knuckle busting son of a bitch trying to roll these around. You scrape your knuckles up here, but I think we'll get her. Okay, so right about there. 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. All right, that's it on that. Okay, so here underneath the feeder house, this pulley here, there's 2 Zerks right in there. You got to have that thing rolled around just right. But got them done. We'll get out of here now. Next, you're going to come up to your cleaning fan. It'll be in here behind this shield right here. Hard to get to now. They put the shield used to have 1 lock in the middle. I could reach in there and get it, but now they got 2. One's clear up the front. I can't reach it, so you gotta have a screwdriver to unlock it. Okay. This one on the cleaning fan is just right here. You can get to it. Pretty simple. Just like so. That'll be it for that. Up here on the side of the combine, they got diagrams for you. But you can see, you know, that's a 400, 400, 400. Then they actually break it down, you know, into individual bubbles then, too. But when you start talking like with your rotor drive up here, your shivs and whatnot, a lot of that stuff's 400-hour Zerks. Well, here's one right here, and I think that one goes up. Yeah, I think there's one on the pulley back in here, you know, and whatnot. So they've really cleaned them up a lot. There ain't a lot of greasing like there used to be. That one up there is 400. But I try to do the stuff, you know, that runs hard every day, that's got little bitty small bearings in it, you know, cleaning fan, that kind of stuff. Rear axle, that gets a lot of movement, you know, your pins back there and whatnot. So I try to do the stuff that's going to get the highest amount of wear. And most of this stuff back here, now shivs are always different. That's a whole different animal when you start talking over greasing them. But you know, a bearing on a cleaning fan, it's just a standard bearing with the grease Zerk. So you know, they may call that a 200-hour Zerk, but I'm going to do it every 50. And you're not going to over grease them and hurt them, you know. But some of these others, you got to be careful, because you will over grease them and you'll knock the seals out of them. Then you got a big mess. All right, coming around to the other side of the combine, we're going to have a grease Zerk back in here. There'll be one up here on the back side, and then one down here on your cleaning fan. And I'll double check myself, but everything else on this side of the machine I think is 400 hours. The only thing you got left would be up here on your front beater. It's back in there, but them should all be high hour Zerks up there. Here we go. Or no, that's the clutch on your feeder house, never mind. So yep, that should get it. You know, if I'm running around here without a camera in my hand and just doing it, you can grease this whole combine in 5 minutes or less. So luckily, doesn't take long. You know, back in the old days, seemed like it took you 20, 30 minutes to get anything greased. But these, they've made a lot of high hour Zerks on them, so it ain't near like it was when we were kids. Yeah, and I forgot to mention, there's actually 2 down in here. There's one on the cleaning fan itself, and then there's one on the shaft there that's got the clutch and everything on it. Tried to blow this thing off the other day before I put it away, but I didn't have any wind that day. And you know how that is when you don't have any wind. It's a son of a bitch to blow off. And so I didn't get it as good as I liked. Well, now today it's windier than hell. It's blowing all that shit on me. All right, that should do it for the greasing. Well, this will be hard for you guys to see, but I'm going to adjust this chain here. So I didn't have no good place to put the camera up here, but I had to loosen that jam nut and then just run this down to the top of the gauge, and then that tightens your chain. So that's what I was doing, but I didn't have no good place to put the camera up here. Next, we're going to tighten this chain here on the feeder house. It's pretty common for them to get pretty loose. They're hard to keep tight, and it's okay if they run on that track, but that's getting a little bit loose there. So as you can see, you know, them ain't tight as a fiddle string. You know, they got some bounce to them and a little bit of slop, and that's about right for one, really. Just up off of the track is about where it wants to stay. All right, next we're going to check our clean grain elevator and our tailings elevator. And remember from my last video, you just want these to where they'll slide back and forth just a little bit on the sprocket. You don't want to be able to pull them away from the sprocket, but you want to be able to have enough room where you can slide them back and forth, otherwise it's too tight. So if you see here, we're still pretty well in spec. Let me get laid down here. See, I can't pull it away from the sprocket, but we can just barely go back and forth, which you probably can't see that on camera, but that's about right. All right, we're gonna jump up in the grain tank now and wash the window between the cab and the grain tank. It's filthy, you can't hardly see through it. Ooh, that's different. Used to be that'd flip all the way up out of the way, but now with this folding popper, got some stuff in the way here. That's all right, we'll get her. Might have to lay down to do it, but we'll get her. These doggone windows are filthy, but normally I don't let them get that way, but the other night we had, or other afternoon, we had a little shower come through in the middle of the afternoon. Didn't amount to anything, but it was just enough to wet the windows and make stuff stick, so it made a mess. But here's one trick of the trade you might keep in mind. You remember the old California dash dusters from years ago? They're actually supposed to be used on the inside of your vehicle. Those little dudes work excellent if, when you get done for the evening before the dew sets in, take that and go over the outside of your windows, get all that wiped off, and man, you can go for several days without ever having to actually wash the windows. But like I say, that little shower rain is what screwed me up, so I'm going to wash them good with glass cleaner. But yeah, those work good. I'd highly recommend keeping one. You got to do it before the dew sets in, though. So of a night when you get done, the combine's cooling down, just jump out and wipe them down real quick, and you're good to go. Most of the time washing windows, I got a squeegee, you know, like you'd use at a gas station. I just use that in a bucket of water and hit them good. It's quicker that way and seems to work pretty good. But with us being down, no hurry today, I'm gonna give them a good washing with glass cleaner and get it all peeled off of there. Okay, so everything's checked over to the best of my knowledge. Windows are clean. I think she's ready. So I'm gonna shut the side shields, back her up, and run some diesel and def in it. Got the combine done. I guess now we'll get the grain cart out, grease it up and fuel it up and get it ready to go. All right, I think everything's pretty well serviced. The auger, grain cart, combine. I got one truck I could run a little fuel in, but that's all it needs. May just wait till we go to the field to do that. So let's jump on to 6430. We'll get rid of this little truck auger. I think we're done with it. Take it over to the hog lot, and from there we'll pick up the draper and bring it over. These old beans are getting close. Probably hard to see on camera, but there's still a few green stems, but today's Thursday, so yeah, by the first of the week, it'll be really close. You'll always have a little bitty green patch like that one there. That's kind of where the planter doubled up on that first pass, but that's all right. Yeah, they'll be close. Sickle all looks pretty good. It's only run, let's see, it run 2 crops through it, so it ought to for sure run this year. Yeah, there's a few that are getting maybe a little bit dull, but times being what they are, she ought to run. Well, I tell you what, guys, I'm going to keep this video short and sweet. Just kind of wanted to update you here on what's going on. But stay tuned this coming week. Looks like we should be back at it full bore. Going to switch over and cut a few beans. So I'm anxious to see how that goes. Look like we got one heck of a bean crop coming on. So anyway, keep it tuned right here to the Growing Corn YouTube channel. We'll see you next time. This is our instant average right here. That's our field average there. And we're about 25 acres into a 45 acre field. And that is very impressive.